What's going on, crazy 76er fanatics? Thanks for stopping back in for another daily pod with your daily 76er discourse. Guys, like, subscribe, and comment because on the next episode, we will be addressing all of your crazy fanatic comments. So like, comment, and subscribe. And guys, we got to talk about what's going on in Philadelphia. The breaking news around Philadelphia is that the Sixers are rumored to be interested in trading for Anfernee Simons. This is a fact, guys. Apparently, Daryl Morey's cooking up more Daryl madness, and he's interested in trading with the Boston Celtics for their newly acquired point guard, Anfernee Simons. For those of you who don't follow the NBA closely, aren't watching smaller markets, or just don't stay up on the Eastern Coast to watch those Western Coast games, Anfernee Simons is a bucket getter. Anfernee Simons is a problem on the offensive end. We can call Anfernee Simons Dame Lillard light, okay? He's a Damian Lillard light because he was a Damian Lillard's point guard, rookie, and he learned how to play from Mr. Dalla. The problem about that is he doesn't have Dame's clutch gene, he doesn't have Dame's consistency, and he also doesn't have Dame's range. So Dame Dalla light is a pretty accurate comparison to what Anfernee Simons is. I mean, honestly, if you want to look at his game tape, guys, throwing some highlights right now, and I'm telling you, they play identical. They want to play off the dribble. They rarely want to play off the catch for most part. They want the ball in their hands. They want to control the offense. And they're not the best facilitators. They're not the best offensive initiators. They don't necessarily get other people involved. But when they do have the ball in their hand, best believe those two players will ball. Dame Lillard and Dame Lillard light, Anfernee Simons. I mean, that's who Anfernee become. You can look at his stats from the last 4 years. He's been averaging close to 20 and 20 pretty easily on a losing team, just taking and making whatever shots he can make, guys. One thing about Anfernee Simons, though, he is as streaky can come. Some games he's a baller, other games he's a bench caller. He's calling that bench to go sit down. Anfernee Simons is an up and down, streaky player in the NBA, but he does have a unique skill set that the Sixer team could use, and that is a three-point ability to knock down shots, take shots, and also play the point guard position. Because let's be honest, guys, if you've watched those Rico Hines runs, if you look at this roster on paper, a true point guard, this team doesn't have. Tyrese Maxey's not a true point guard. He's a true scoring guard. Jared McCain, you're not sure what he actually is right now. You know he's a true blue scoring machine, knocking down those threes. But can he initiate? Can he facilitate? And can he bring the ball up without causing too many turnovers? Last season's tape does not give you any reason to believe that he's ready for that role right now. VJ Edgecombe, definitely a rookie. Not going to put a huge workload, a huge winning workload on a rookie right now. And then Quentin Grimes took his first reps at being a point guard, a facilitator, an initiator. So this team does not have a true point guard. That's maybe why Daryl Morey may think or consider trading for Anfernee Simons, because he would give Tyrese Maxey the reliever, another initiator, another creator, and another bona fide scorer with the ball and potentially without the ball. Because again, for the last 4 seasons, on average, this guy's clearly eclipsing about like 20 points per game. Now 19 points per game is the thing about the average. And he's shooting on average about 8.5, so 9 or 8 3-pointers per game. The guy's a 3-point shooter. This team does need spacing. If Joel's going to be on this court, and Joel's going to be as dominant as Joel is dominant, normally he is, guys, you need 3-point shooters, you need spacing, and spacing is exactly what this team needs. That's why Anfernee Simons could be exactly who this team is looking for. But I think they may trade. I won't lie to you. Will the Sixers trade for Anfernee Simons? I don't think so. I don't think they'll trade for Anfernee Simons because financially and contractually, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't align. Anfernee Simons makes about $25 to $27 million per year, which based off of how the checkbook the Sixers have, they can't trade anyone for Anfernee Simons without giving up a boatload of players. VJ Edgecombe, Andre Drummond, and Kelly Oubre, maybe throwing in a few more pieces just to make it work contractually for a one-player deal with Anfernee Simons. Plus, you already have a loaded backcourt with VJ, Tyrese, Jared McCain, and assuming this guy will resign, you got the 4th point guard, shooting guard in that backcourt in Quentin Grimes. You don't necessarily need an Anfernee Simons, who is a heavy usage player. Anfernee Simons has his best games, best seasons when he's a heavy usage player, and the ball is in his hands most of the game. And he's able to make as many mistakes and make as many great plays as he would like to. Unfortunately, that's just not what this team has up to offer. I don't think they trade for Anfernee Simons. I think they trade with the Boston Celtics to move Anfernee Simons for a player and a position they think need a lot of help with. A trade that does make sense and actually financially does work with the dollars. Anfernee Simons going to the Brooklyn Nets, who need offense, who need point guards, shooting guards, power forwards, and centers. They need everything there. Anfernee Simons going to the Brooklyn Nets. The Sixers trading Andre Drummond to the Boston Celtics. And then the Nets trading Jalen Wilson, Noah Clowney, maybe Dariq Whitehead. Any low contract, minimum contract player the Sixers are trying to acquire, they could acquire in a 3-team trade. Now, what you're saying is the money doesn't make sense. The money doesn't work out. But luckily, the Nets have a lot of cap space to use and to abuse. It's use it or lose it in this league, guys. And I do believe the Nets, who have been at the bottom of the barrel, potentially want to be one of those middle-tier teams so they have a better chance at calling free agents, potentially bringing in some big star power action for next season. They want to at least be competitive. They at least want to be comparable to a winning team. At least fake it till they make it. So making a trade for Anfernee Simons, who is, again, a 20-point-per-game player, a proven and I guess you can consider him a veteran in this league because not many players make it to 10 seasons in the league anymore. Guys, Anfernee Simons got real NBA experience being a point guard in this league. He will be a perfect acquisition for the Nets with Anfernee, Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr. You got 3 guaranteed certified buckets on your squad. All you need to do is get the ball in the right player's hands at the right time, and all 3 of these guys can find the twine. The Nets may be good. A trade like that, the Nets may be good. And that works out for the Sixers and the Celtics, who are both trying to offload cap space. And the Celtics have a huge hole at the center position. So acquiring Andre Drummond could be a huge potential piece for this team. In addition to offloading that terrible contract for the Sixers, that would work extremely well. Acquiring another power forward in Noah Clowney or Jalen Wilson that may fill the hole that they still have question marks at. And then you sign Thomas Bryant. I mean, I'm just cooking up the perfect offseason for Daryl Morey, and I hope he already has this in mind because this is every potential trade in piece the Sixers can make to be a closer contender and a closer championship squad for this season, for next season. But if they're thinking about trading for Anfernee Simons, which the only reason you would consider trading and acquiring Anfernee Simons on the Sixers squad is because he's on a 1-year deal. He has 1 year left on his $27 million deal. It is kind of boom or bust for this guy. He's either going to get a big payday on another squad or he's going to drop down to the Gary Trent veteran minimum if he doesn't play well. The only reason you would want to trade for a guy like Anfernee Simons is because he's on that 1 year deal and it gives you options for the future. What does that mean for this team's future if Daryl Morey is still trying to acquire 1 year players to open up cap space for next year? What does that mean for this team's future? Well, I think it means that Daryl Morey doesn't have faith in this team's success for this upcoming season. If he's already thinking about the future of this team, talking about 2026, 2027, future lineups, future packages, he's not necessarily willing to go all in on this season. He's not necessarily willing to believe that this season is the season for Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. He could be losing Anfernee Simons as a perfect not only cap space opener, but maybe another trade piece at the deadline to move off of Joel, to move off of Paul George, or maybe just to free up cap space for some free agents so you have some sign and trade ability for next season. Signing a 1 year player for Anfernee Simons when you already have a loaded backcourt doesn't necessarily make me believe that Daryl Morey's buying in and making acquisitions for this team's this season's success. It does seem that Daryl Morey has future plans on his mind. Future plans on his mind. We're going to have to see what happens, guys, because, again, this is not a finished product. This is not a finished roster, and Daryl Morey shouldn't be done cooking up and hooking this team up with more star potential players. A power forward is exactly what this team needs, so trading for Anfernee Simons leaves more holes and more question marks going into the season than we've had before. What does this mean for this team's future? It means that Daryl doesn't have faith. One player, though, you should and could have faith in is Adem Bona. What has Adem Bona been up to, guys? How about improving and playing? He's been in the Olympic. He's been playing for the Olympic squad for Turkey. Him and Alperen Şengün have been hooking up for some alley-oop lobs. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, guys, check it out on Twitter. But I've been looking at Adem Bona's on-court stats and on-court ability. Here's one thing I'll say. It's very tough to find European statistics. Very tough to find European box scores. We found him. Guys, we found him. Adem Bona hasn't been playing, let's say, at star player potential, but he also just hasn't been getting the minutes. He had about 17 minutes one game, 10 minutes another. I think his most recent performance for Turkey, he had 17 minutes again. But with those minutes, guys, he's showing everything that Adem Bona is all about. That's defensive impact, that's protecting the rim, and he's been blocking those shots, guys. Adem Bona is improving. Adem Bona is getting more comfortable on the court, and the most important thing is that he's finding his identity. One thing that Adem Bona did display in the Summer League was a scoring potential, a rim running, rim rocking, and maybe a one dribble explosive first step that you didn't see before. What you're seeing in the Olympics is a little more of what Adem Bona is probably going to bring during the season. That's just defensibility. That's a huge lob threat, and that's also a high motor, high impact, high hustle player. Adem Bona's been up to improving. Adem Bona's been up to showing the Sixers fan base and showing the front office what he could potentially bring in the absence of Joel Embiid. And I think the questions have been answered. What does Adem Bona bring to this squad? Everything we talked about, the intangibles of a hustler, the intangibles of a constant worker, of a constant motor. But in terms of skill, you want to see Adem Bona develop more skill and find his spots. Great players in this league find their spots, and you haven't been able to see Adem Bona find his specific kill spots, whether it's in the mid-range, whether it's just in the paint, whether he's finding that corner three-point shot that you need from all players in this league. One thing we can say, though, Adem Bona has been up to improving. And that's the best thing you can see for the Sixers squad because he's looked comfortable, he looks confident, and most importantly, out of confidence and comfortability, guys, he looks ready to take on a heavier workload, to take on a bigger role, and to play against those star players because defensively, guys, he's locking them up. Offensively, that's where you want to see his leap be taken the most, but you're gonna have to wait to see that play out, guys. Good players play their best around better players. That's a fact, guys, because it gives you more space, more opportunity, and less eyes on you. Adem Bona could basically be shadowed and left alone in the corner or left alone in the paint because you got Tyrese Maxey, Grimes, McCain, and all these great players to worry about. Adem Bona, guys, is progressing and processing to be a really useful player off of this bench and potentially in the starting lineup in the absence of Joel. Guys, like, comment, and subscribe because if you like, comment, and subscribe, guys, we will leave you with not only addressing your comments on our very next episode, but we can also talk about what people want to talk about. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. We got another episode coming up tomorrow.